Some businesses succeed, some don't. Then there are those that seem to have been around forever. The true entrepreneurial success story. How did they do it? What was their vision? What makes a success? In this special episode for Eye on Annapolis, we speak with the true success stories, those business owners that have been around for decades, learn from their successes and failures. Now, here's host John Fernay.
We're here on Russell Street in Annapolis, just off of West Street, with Jack Ellis, who is the reason that we're laughing here is because we've just gone through this and I forgot to push the record button on the recorder. So I'm going to totally own up to messing that up. But we're with Jack Ellis, who is the owner of Haste Printing and Mailing, which is a mailing and printing house in Annapolis for 36 years. You know, the question I've got is that this seems like a little bit of a antiquated business, if you will, and you've been around for 36 years. But how did you get your start?
Well, we got started, the business actually evolved from the Annapolis Post Box on Church Circle in 1983. And as I worked at, was I working at Fran O'Brien's at the time, Tanning Bar. It happened from a suggestion from my father from years ago. I thought it was a good idea. I went to D.C. and I saw all the people that did it. I talked to them and I paid them for their knowledge. It was easy for me just to pay them to understand. We were only the third place in Maryland at the time and the only person that shipped a UPS package from all the way from.
And that's like what you see the private mailbox companies that we've got now. And that was probably before you had to put the PMB.
That is correct.
On the thing. So you could now say, are you at that, one church circle? Was that the?
Well, no, that was the main post. That was one. I was 3 church circle and people used to put.
But that's a pretty prestigious address. That's like, 300 Park Avenue, New York or something like that.
It was excellent. But we actually handled the mail. People would call us if they're expecting a check. They could actually call in advance. We could let them know what was in the mailbox. We were able to forward the mail to them if they're out of town. We used to, at the time when we first started, we had a lot of people on boats that would bring their boats from, and they would travel, and we would handle some of the mail. The internet was not there at the time. I had a telex service. People don't even know what that is, but we had a telex service where we were able to telex people to be able to communicate with people around the world.
Wow.
And we even did some ham radio operating to help some people with traveling. People around the world in Greece needed a part for a boat, and I was able to enter side with faucets to get a part for them.
So you were competing with the post office, but adding on some value to it.
That was exactly correct. People in the post office didn't understand. They thought I was trying to put them out of business because I was right next to the post office. Even Barbara Mikulski, who was upstairs, it was pretty fascinating because I used to get the mail for the whole building, and I was able to get the mail that's 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock in the morning across the street, and I would just walk the mail across the street, and I would put it in all the mailboxes in the morning. And then the mail would be there, so we were able to get the early morning delivery where people would take a while to get back. So it had a great value. We get the mail earlier, be able to handle the mail and redirect the mail.
Now you are in I don't know how big your place is here on Russell Street, but you are in a very large building on Russell Street, and you're handling printing and mailing as well. But where does your business? Are you a printer? Are you a mailer? Are you both? And how'd you get here?
Well, it all started at the mailbox business where we got into the direct mail, and then I transferred the business over to my employee, Patrick Harvey. I forget when it was. And then our business grew to 2,600 square feet to warehouses out on Hudson Street. And then from there, we needed more space because things were really growing. And I was actually negotiating to buy the old Legion Avenue post office. That whole building was for sale from the Kotzen family.
Okay.
And then my neighbor, ironically, was rehabbing this building, and it made sense to come here. And Alan Hyde from Severance Haven did a great job for us, did a wraparound mortgage, and did a super job for us. And so we came here. We have 12,000 square feet. And it was pretty fascinating because the Campbell family wanted the sign when the crane was here to take the sign off the building. They wanted the sign for Memento. It was pretty neat. And it was a great old building. It's got to be 60-some years old. And they have center block that's all word, but some of the blocks are actually made out of cinder, and they're black.
Oh, neat.
It is actually, like, I didn't understand. The guy was saying, the cinder block is black. It actually truly was made that way. And the roof is 2x6 tongue and groove. Pretty fascinating.
Wow. So, but I mean, so you've grown a lot over the 36 years that you've been here, from certainly the little post office on Church Circle to this now. I mean, why did you need to grow? I mean, was it just a nature of the business, or
what happened is as a business service goes, and my one mentor, Brooke Dyer, who got mail at the post box, said there's a tremendous need doing the small to medium sized mailings with some technology involved because people don't understand it. And then plus what happens is a lot of these nonprofits, they have to raise the money, then they have to thank them for the money, and then they have to acquisition. So it's more of a nonprofit retention business where they would do a solicitation. Like Chesapeake Bay used to mail $200,000 a month at one time when he was growing the organization. But then they have to send them the thank you notes, and then once they got a thank you note, acknowledge that they gave a gift, then they'd have to move along and get them. Now they're a member. Then every month you expire. So there was a 7 series of Chesapeake Bay Foundation that we used to do, and it was a 7-part series where it's 3 months before you expired. And
is that most of your customers, or a lot of your customers, the nonprofit in the nonprofit world, or?
Well, it's a combination of the nonprofits raising money, mailing out for an event, and or a newsletter business. They're still around, and it works. And we do, obviously, said the political mailing. We assist Grouse in their marketing efforts. We're mailing the circulars. Whoever get that, we've been mailing that. They mail 980,000 pieces of mail a year. It's part of their marketing effort.
Well, I know they say that in any kind of sales that you usually have to ask 3 or 4 or 5, or sometimes some even will say 7 times before you get to the yes.
That is correct.
And I'm sure in a nonprofit world as well, that holds true. That you've got to, you make the relationship. We find out who we are, and then we've got to hit them again and say, hi, this is what we do, and isn't this great? Isn't this great? Would you like to help us out? Would you like to help us out? And finally, you'll get it. And I think that's where it probably works in perfectly for you and an organization such as yours to be able to do that and set. I don't know whether it's called a drip campaign. I know in the old days, I don't know whether that's still
that's the right word. But I mean, if you advertise in the newspaper, you only have to hit them 13 or 16 times to place an ad to reach the person, and it reduces down to 6 or 7, as you had mentioned, in terms of touches. But I mean, if it's a nonprofit organization mailing to the constituents, they get a much quicker, because they already believe in the organization, they're already a member, so they already believe. So therefore, that's a quicker response, and as versus trying to reach somebody who's trying to fresh to bring them into your fold.
As we look as you've grown, I mean, I look and I see at your desk you've got a giant monitor on your computer and everything else. I mean, computers and technology has had to really put a ding on you, hasn't it? I mean, and obviously it's a very, very valuable tool for you as well.
It has changed the world. So somebody mailing 30 or 40,000 at a time, they're only mailing 15 or 20 now. So it has changed that. And what has happened is that we understood the technology of the mail merging of the data and the names. And we used to do that for the printers who didn't have our knowledge. And as their printing dried up or went away, we used to assist them in that world because we didn't print. Now our world is almost 45 to 50% of our business now is actually printing. So a lot of things we do is we bring technology to the paper. We actually print the names to the paper. Therefore, most printers don't have the ability to do that. We bring the barcodes, and so it saves a step where we actually print it and we then address it all at the same time. Therefore, it's already done. It saves the addressing, and we can do some variable data. We can do fonts. We can do asks. It's pretty fascinating.
You're responsible for a lot of the what some people may consider junk mail, but we'll call it bulk mail that you find in your, as I'm getting yelled at. He's got a mug here on his desk that says, "I love junk mail," with a 25-cent stamp. Boy, that's an antique there. I don't even know. The post office, that's the smartest thing the post office ever did, was going with the forever stamps, because they don't put the price on them. You have no idea what the heck it cost you.
Well, it's good for me, because if I know the stamp goes up a nickel, I could have bought all the stamps at 50 cents versus 55.
That's true. That is true. There's a market there. But you are putting this bulk mail into the post office boxes, into the mailboxes, into the door slots and whatnot around the country, and it works.
It absolutely works. For instance, we were talking earlier that Nordstrom's thought they'd save money. They came out first of the year and they said, "Hey, we're going to save money. We're going to cut out direct mail." I will forward you the results that are true, that they realized after the first quarter their sales were down so much, they realized it was a mistake. And then, of course, J. Jill did the same thing. They thought Nordstrom's knew everything. They were the smart guys. They followed their suit. They're down. It goes to show it works.
But you look at what Penny's and Sears built their business on was the catalog, was essentially direct mail, getting that big, thick old catalog in your mailbox, 2 or 3 or maybe even 4 times a year. I don't remember what it was. We'll talk politics here for a little bit, that the campaigns know who their target people are. So, I mean, I get all the mailings from a particular candidate because he knows that I'm likely to vote for him and so on and so forth. I mean, is that something that you guys do? You can target people, and as far as addresses and
yes, I mean, the technology with the computers, as it dings it, we can find people who have buying habits, that spend money, that spend certain kind of things. But in the political world, the Board of Elections keeps track of the people, whether you're Republican, Democrat, Independent. It keeps track of your how well you vote. I mean,
right. So they're probably looking for people that vote all the time, that do this, and as opposed to the person that just registered and we never heard from.
So if a Republican is running for the beginning election, we can mail to all the Republicans that mail all the time because who are the most likely to. It depends on the area, and then from there, then you get into the general election, and then you mail to all of them, or the ones that vote all the time, or all of a sudden it changes. So Maryland is pretty much in this area is pretty much a Democratic area, but it seems like the Republicans seem to run things for a while.
But as far as like a business goes, though, I mean, you can actually target this. But you said based on the buying habits. So I mean, if say I'm looking for somebody that's buys an awful lot of sneakers or flip-flops or something like that. I mean, that may be a ridiculous criteria, but is that something that you could find an audience? And I mean, what I'm getting at is from a business standpoint, this would seem very beneficial to them as opposed to saying, okay, I'm going to send out – Annapolis has 38,000 residents. I'm not going to send out 38,000 people hoping I can sell 1,000 flip-flops. I want to send out maybe 1,000 hoping I can sell 200 flip-flops because those 1,000 people are really the ones that are into it.
I mean – sure, we can do that. We can do things for animal people. We can people with cats or dogs. We can pick up animals and mail to people. We've assisted people in that. We're doing a wine guy who's in D.C., which is still fascinates me. Wine deals. The guy's delivering wine in D.C. in 3 hours, and he bought a list of 13,189 people who are wine enthusiasts who make over $150,000. There's 13,000 people, and in that, we're going to do the mailings, and we're going to break it up into 2,000 a week for him, and he's going to mail them at 2,000 a week, and he's going to deliver wine. D.C. has laws are different, and from that, I was able to assist the guy.
So now you said he gave you a list. He bought a list.
He bought a list. To me, the list was pretty esoteric to a degree. That he found these wine enthusiasts from somebody sold him these names, whether they're right or not. I would hope it is so, but we're going to break this down into 7 mailings for this guy at about 2,000 a week. We'll give him 7 sets of mail, and he lives in D.C. and he'll take them to the D.C. post office with his permit number on it. We'll do all the work for him, and there you go. He's a wine distributor in D.C.
Wow, that's so. And I mean, can you do lists yourself? I mean,
yes.
Do you purchase or?
So we do lists. We help local people. We're getting ready to do something in a retirement community. We're getting ready to. Those where they have people of a certain age with an adult person living with them, and we're doing that, and that come out to 5,700 homes to market to the people. We tried a new facility off Forest Drive for a 55-plus community.
Yeah, I mean, you would think that would be ideal for any kind of nonprofit as well. I mean, you look for the homes that have the income in the areas and the neighborhoods that, you say environmental type of an organization may want to look for, waterfront homes that have an income over $200,000 household income over $200,000 that have been living in the homes for more than 10 years.
I mean, that all can be done.
Wow.
I mean, so it's just, we do work for a guy who does permits and piers. He spent 5 years of his life researching all the homes on the water in Anne Arundel County. The homes aren't moved. The people change, so we don't use their name. We just use resident.
Right.
And all he does is go out there and he mails to them 3 or 4 times a year. So when you're ready to do a pier or permit, you'll call the guy. And my philosophy in direct mail is very simple, in that you mail them till they buy or they die. Because if you have the right service to the right person when they need it, you hope them to call you
at the right time. Sure, you've got the top of the mind. I mean, my pier goes down. I'm like, oh, what was that? And sure enough, within a couple of months, I'm going to get something. That's exactly him.
It's like the Bed Bath & Beyond, the 20% off coupon that comes all the time in every coupon. So he doesn't mail that often, but those people, that just goes to show how frequency people save them.
You've expanded over the years. You've acquired some companies over the years, and to get to the point where you are at this point now. You mentioned, I think it was in the last time before we had forgot to push the. I say forgot to push the record button. Is that there are no more, or there's only 2 printing presses in the city of Annapolis now? Is that right?
In the city, that is correct. Only 2 printing presses. I mean, in terms of where they have the wet ink, where it takes a skill set to use these, the trade has changed, and the world is changing to digital and into the digital market. So it changes the dynamics of how things are produced. It's just truly amazing how the world has changed so fast in terms of that.
And is that part of the reason why of your expansion is just that with printers have moved out of town or they've gone out of business? Was it a need that was needed here that you?
Well, we were always here. So we've been in this property for 22 years, and it's hard for us to live. Our people live relatively close by, and therefore it's a place to work. I mean, and it's just a function that we're able to provide for people. I mean, you look at the stuff in your mailbox, how does it get there? We assist in that process, whether we fold, we print, we address. We have a 4-color digital envelope printer that can bleed, which is a non-traditional method, but it's truly fascinating. With the technology has changed. We can bleed on a 6x9 envelope on all 4 sides.
Wow.
We use their names all at the same time. So we take a piece of plain white paper, and we have a little YouTube video which is just hysterical. I call Cheap Color Envelopes, and it gets hits, and it has a little video. We did it with a cell phone, and
it's pretty fascinating that it is. And I know that I do want to give a thank you because, I mean, you handled the printing. I was involved with organizing the Wendy Winters PR Bazaar recently, and you did just a fantastic job on printing the program or the guide or whatever it was. I don't know the terminology that we use to call it, but it was just fantastic. I mean, the quality, the covers, and the turnaround time. I know that it was one of those, hey, it's Thursday. And it was like, yeah, okay, come tomorrow.
That's where the name Post Haste comes into play.
But yeah, no, I mean, I think this is something that a lot of businesses, a lot of organizations keep not at the front of their mind, that this is such a powerful tool. We always sit there and think I can send somebody an email. Well, we all know how everything gets caught in the spam filters and just sort of goes away into the ethos of the internet. We know people get tired of seeing them. Am I going to click and open that attachment, that Adobe attachment, to see what your little newsletter says and whatnot? And to be honest with you, not to pick on the Capitol, but if the Capitol could reliably deliver the paper to my house, I would totally subscribe to the print edition because I like picking up something and I like reading it. I do read some of the mail that comes into the unsolicited, the bulk, the junk mail that comes into my mailbox. I read an awful lot of that. It's advertising something that has zero interest to me. It goes, and usually it's addressed to somebody that used to live there prior to me. But I will read it. I'll leaf through the coupons and see if there's something and pull out a few of them. And I think it is a very valuable tool. And I don't know how expensive is it? Is it more affordable than people realize?
It is very affordable. It depends. The more time you spend to hone down your list to the right customer, it works. The post office come up with this new program called EDDM, which stands for Every Door Direct Mail. And whether it be a local pizza guy or a dry cleaner, a local business, they don't need me. They can just put current resident on the pieces. You'll see them with no address on them. You wonder how they got there. But the mail is processed, and we do it for other people, and we have a special account. After we pay for them in Annapolis, we put them in a container, and it's sent directly to the post office of delivery, and it works very fine. And so you can mail those as low as 16.2 cents a piece. And you only have to mail 200. So if you're really trying to reach people in a certain neighborhood, you just mail the mailman's route. It could be 300 pieces of mail. So yes, you can get your message across, and it does work.
So that could be something even for a homeowners association that wants to let somebody know about the upcoming election or how to get the pool badges or something like that.
You're exactly correct.
That could be a very, very quick, inexpensive means to do it and be able to give it a statement because you've got, You've got an image and everything else. And
the challenges I have is to educate the poor customer, don't understand, or the people that I trained last time don't work through anymore. It's always a big thing. And to follow up on the Wendy Winters thing, because of that problem I have, I'm going to be having a nonprofit tips and tricks and save money and how to do money in direct mail for the nonprofit. So getting it put together for my nonprofit people, I've been talking about it for years. Jeff Holland from the West River and the South River, we're gonna have it down there, but it's going out to the nonprofits to help them understand the direct mail, to make the right envelopes, to use a different size envelope to get it done by machine versus by hand, to save them money. It's easier for me as well, and so that'll be out there for the.
Do you have a date on that?
Not yet. I'm talking to Jeff to get a date, and it'll be soon.
Okay.
I'd be happy to.
Definitely let me know on that because I would love to attend and make sure let everybody know that it's there. But I think that it makes all the sense in the world when you sit there and look. Now, do you guys do the actual design work as well? Can you do that? Or
we can. We do some little designs for our dear friends at KB True Value. Little signs. We're getting ready to put up one to put the stuff down on your lawn or this time of year for your lawn. Getting ready to put that up. And we use 2 or 3 little freelance designers locally here in town. And to help with design, or so they only have half a design. They want us to finish it up, or we help to design some of the political mails.
So if I'm a new business that's just starting out, I've got this brilliant idea, and I've got all the money in the world to rent a place on Main Street or something like that. But I'm just launching my business. I think you would probably be in my wheelhouse to talk to, whether it be I've got a logo design, and maybe that's all I've got at this point. To be able to come in, you could help get that postcard out. Say, hey, coming soon. It's
if you have the logo design or you have the idea, we can formulate that to something and tell me what you're trying to reach, who you're trying to reach. We can assist you and try to get you to where you need to be.
And what other printing do you do as opposed to the mailing? Let's talk about the printing. People think of Kinko's, which doesn't exist anymore, I think.
That's correct. The Kinko's, they were bought out by FedEx, and Staples, and they're some of our better advertisers. Their hours are a little longer than mine, but our prices seem to be fairer than their prices. We get people and we can do invitations. We're getting ready to do 300 invitations for somebody. You need them today. We're going to print them, and we're going to do the cards. We're going to print them. We're going to score them. We're going to cut them. We're going to print 4-color envelopes for them, 300 of them today.
But I mean, you're as far as if I needed 50 copies of a piece of paper that I'm handing out at a thing, is that something that I'm coming to you for?
Sure. Free State, we briefly talked about that. So in terms of how things developed, Jim Martin had been in business 35 years, and we just acquired him. He worked here for 6 years. He retired. He just walked in this morning just to say hello, as in his morning walk, and he's still available to help, and he's been very helpful. And we can do that. We do magazines. We do about 1,000 magazines for one group. That's 48 pages. We do some stuff for Homestead Gardens, a little mini catalog.
Okay, so it's not strictly just, we'll say, commercial printing and that's probably the misnomer of a word there. But I mean, it's strictly not the glossy, the mailers, the flyers, the brochures, the booklets, the magazines. But I mean, I can actually come and just get some day-to-day.
Yeah.
If I need 100 copies to hand out at a networking meeting or something.
We do a small sign. We have 50-inch printer, so we do small signs, fake checks. I want to take one of those checks to the drive-in window to see how it's going to get through that little tube. But we do we're starting to do into the wide area format. Customers asking a little sign, a 2-foot by 3-foot thing on a foam core. We're able to do that quickly here, and so our business has grown on the printing side because all the businesses keep changing. It's just metamorphosing, changing our sales, and doing what's needed.
All right, you do an awful lot of political mailings. You work with a lot of political campaigns. What colors work best?
Well, it depends. Some people think red, white, and blue are the best. Ed Raleigh likes red, white, and blue. He doesn't like green. But anyway. But
do you have any insight onto that?
I really don't. I have tremendous knowledge of all these years of doing all these campaigns, and everybody gives me their opinion. And when they tell you that this is the best and they tell you it works, well, then you remember that. And I share that as I have been for years, and that's how you learn, is by listening to the people saying this worked. Well,
I will say one of the most unusual signs I saw was Chris Trumbauer's, who used purple and white. And it won him in office for 2 terms, so he termed out. So I'm going to say that was fairly significant. There was another one that ran for sheriff, and I don't know whether you did this one, but it was shaped like a sheriff's badge. And it was absolutely horrible because I always thought it was like home security.
Oh.
It looked like protected by something shield alarm system. So I never thought it was very, very good. But I think that Chris Trumbauer's purple worked very well just because it's an unusual color scheme. I mean, you do see variants of red, white, blue, and in this area, green tends to lean a little bit toward an environmental type of a thing. But I didn't know whether there was any kind of
I don't know if there's any science to that, but I mean, a lot of these elections all have to do with timing in life, being at the right place at the right time when things happen, which has an awful lot to do with it, whether you're a Democrat or Republican, being in the right place at the right time. Nobody runs, or somebody does run, or everything's a timing thing.
That seems to be the story of life in general.
That's true.
If you're in the right place at the right time, and it might work out for you. Otherwise, It might not. I'll tell you, Jack Ellis, thank you very much. And check them out. They're at posthastemailing.biz, B-I-Z. And that's POSTHASTE. You can probably always stop by at 90 Russell Street. I don't know whether you had a candy jar out front. I didn't notice, but, there's a candy jar out front. Come get candy. Come get free candy from Jack. Jack, thank you very much.
Alrighty, thank you.
Thanks for listening to this special podcast for Ion Annapolis. Please be sure to visit ionannapolis.net for all your local news, events, and opinions. And in case you haven't already, please subscribe to the Ion Annapolis Daily News Brief, where we bring you your local news direct to your phone or tablet every Monday through Friday at 7 a.m. Subscribe on iTunes or Google Play.